The slot machine continues pushing forward.
Szoboszlai's hit! It is something very, very special!
It's the rule of the Premier League that when one bald manager drops from the peak of the mountain, he must be replaced by another bald one.
Arne Slot has kept it all inside this season, but finally the release of the emotion.
The Dutch Lex Luthor.
I saw someone bald over there as well.
Slot has Liverpool dominating in ways that I don't even think the most optimistic of Liverpool fans could have imagined.
When I see Liverpool, it looks like they're trying to win it. I see other teams play, they look like, let's not lose it.
But what if I told you the true Slot revolution hasn't even started yet?
I've said this so many times, I think it was Michael Jordan, the harder we work, the more luck we get. And that is, I think, something that you can say about this team. They work incredibly hard.
The only thing shinier than Slot's beautiful bald head is this club's future. Let's discuss.
Yeah, I think everyone thought that it was going to be difficult, but not Arne. Not Arne.
It's always interesting to see how teams begin to embody the qualities of their managers. Under Klopp, Liverpool were loud, aggressive, relentless. Heavy metal football inspired by their manager who wore his emotions on a sleeve. Liverpool are still relentless. They're still as direct as before. But now they have more control in their approach.
It's a mix of the old and certainly something of the new. It's kind of rotating in midfield, and there seems to be a bit more patience and a slightly more thoughtful defensively.
The calm, more calculated approach is reflective of Slot's calm nature.
Probably one of the reasons why I'm composed is because I have a lot of trust in my team. The work I had to do is already been done.
Don't get it twisted. Slot is still very charismatic. Look at how he approached the Salah contract situation questions that were posed to him by the media.
So probably I'm more out than in. So
The only thing I can say is if I look at my lineups, Mo is more in than out. That quote I can give you.
But overall, he's more calm than Klopp. He's more neutral. Although even he loses it sometimes. This is what Premier League reffing does to someone.
If there are too many decisions going against you, then even I can lose my composure.
What makes Slot so special is that he's very adaptable.
It depends on the other team as well. So we change a lot.
They have a base identity. Everyone knows they're going to come out in the 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, however you want to describe it. They know that Slot's teams are going to be aggressive, direct, they're going to try and score lots of goals, but they're also incredibly flexible depending on the conditions of the match. We have seen Slot push Szoboszlai to right back. We have seen him rock a left winger up front as a false 9. We have seen the team come out on a 4-2-3-1, but then switch to a 4-4-2 on the fly. Even when teams know how Liverpool will set up, they can't predict how they're going to get punished. A big reason for that is how good Arne Slot is at changing things mid-game. Against Bournemouth, he brought on Chiesa, and mamma mia.
They just love late drama at Anfield.
Against Newcastle, he took a risk and brought on Rio. Not many managers would have the balls to sub in a teenager in a tense 2-2 draw at St. James's Park. It's like throwing a kid into the WWE ring. Arteta would have subbed on another center back, but not Slot. He put in the teenager, and of course, he was rewarded.
Boy wonder strikes for Liverpool.
To those that followed Liverpool closely in the 2024-2025 season, you won't be surprised by Slot's chess moves. He quickly built a reputation for changing games at halftime without tearing up Liverpool's structure.
How much of a contribution
That was a very good question.
are Slot substitutions to Liverpool's success this season?
Oh, big time. Yeah, he pretty much seems to have gotten every single one correct.
The Real Madrid match at Anfield was a perfect example. In the first half, Liverpool created chances, but weren't finding the breakthrough. Curtis Jones kept drifting into the right half space, which meant that Connor Bradley didn't have the room to make his usual runs from right back. Madrid's 4-4-2 shape held firm, and most of Liverpool's attacks fizzled out. At halftime, Slot switched it up. He told Jones to move in more centrally, more towards the left. That small adjustment freed up space on the right for Bradley to charge into. At the same time, Liverpool overloaded the left, pulling Madrid's defense across. With Salah pinning Mendy wide, Bradley suddenly had gaps to exploit between Mendy and Rudiger. The difference was night and day. Bradley kept popping up in dangerous positions, stretching Madrid's defense. Eventually, his threat pulled Rudiger out of place, and that opened the door for McAllister to run into the space and score the opener.
Bradley and McAllister. Oh, what a goal!
From there, Liverpool controlled the game and secured their first win over Madrid since 2009. It wasn't a massive tactical overhaul, just a very clever tweak. Slot's ability to spot these little details and then adjust accordingly is one of his biggest strengths. Against Madrid, it turned a solid first half into a winning second half. Slot has made Liverpool very dangerous because he's not afraid of changing things based on the opponent. If something isn't working, he'll change it. You should take notes, Ruben Amorim. Against Tottenham, the big change was the fullbacks. Instead of having Robertson tuck inside and Trent move into the midfield like under Klopp, both fullbacks stayed wide and gave Liverpool proper width. That stretched Spurs' defense and opened up spaces for crosses. In midfield, McAllister and Gravenberch had to be brave, taking the ball under pressure. It did cost them for Spurs' first goal, but overall it let Liverpool build attacks and push forward quickly. Up front, even without a true striker, Diaz played as a false 9, while Salah, Gakpo, and Szoboszlai all made runs into the box. Liverpool flooded the area with 3 or 4 players every time a cross came in, and Spurs, who were missing their top center back and first choice keeper, couldn't cope. The first goal showed it all. After dragging Spurs across to one side, they quickly switched it out wide to Trent, who had time to whip in a cross. Diaz ran free and headed it in. For the second, they baited Spurs into pressing, then broke their lines and crossed again, with McAllister finishing the chance. Slot's tweaks made Liverpool transform into a crossing machine that night, which allowed them to expose Spurs' biggest weakness. And the result was that they scored 6 goals, and once again put on display how flexible and ruthless they can be. Then look at what Liverpool did to Fulham. Now Fulham, they're a difficult team to beat. We've seen them pick up points against Arsenal and Chelsea. So to go down to them early and get a red card, it's a nightmare situation. Yet Slot began to immediately change things around. He experimented a ton. First he pushed Trent more forward, then used Gomez as a right center back for a back 3. Then he brought Trent back and moved Gomez to the left back position, with Gravenberch moving as one of the center backs, then McAllister and Szoboszlai as the 2 pivots. In the same match, he essentially kept moving around pieces until he found a lineup that he liked. Liverpool ended up drawing, but you wouldn't have been able to tell they were down to 10 men. Their control of the match didn't waver one bit. Against Forest, there was a similar thing. He subbed in Jota, rest in peace, and Tsimikas. Jota had only been on the pitch for 30 seconds before he scored a header off a corner crossed in by, you guessed it, Tsimikas. That draw ended up being a huge result for Liverpool, which left them 6 points clear of Arsenal. And of course, they ended up winning the league.
What a day it has been from Anfield today.
Across the 34 games that won Liverpool the title, the graphics show that they spread their touches more evenly across the pitch than in past seasons. They could build from the back, keep the ball through the middle, or push high up the pitch, adjusting based on whatever the game needed. Even though Liverpool controlled games better, their average possession was actually lower than in any Klopp season. And that's because Slot's team often drops into a more organized 4-2-4 shape when they lose the ball. They still press, but it's less frantic. And when the 4-2-4 clicks, it shuts off the middle of the pitch really well. In Klopp's last season, Liverpool were often caught on the counter. But if you look at the number of direct attacks that they've conceded recently, it's clear that Slot's team has cut that down a lot compared to previous years. A big reason for Liverpool's stronger defense has been a change in how they set up building from the back. Slot's team often uses a 4-2 or 4-1 shape, keeping both fullbacks deeper. Sometimes Gravenberch and McAllister also drop in to help pick up the ball.
The main thing is in possession, where we are more patient, we have different patterns and different movements to understand where the spaces are.
And one of the best ways to maintain control in any circumstance is to remain patient. Slot himself has stated that he spends most of the time not thinking about tactics, but instead how he can articulate his ideas to his players in the best and most simple way possible.
Most of my time that I think about football, people think that I think about the tactic sports, but that's the opposite of what is true. The most time where I think about football is how can I find a way to bring more energy in you or bring more energy in the teams.
That's why even when Liverpool are down a goal or things are not going their way, you never see them panic. And because of that, there's a sense of inevitability about this team. The same feeling that I used to get when I watched Pep's Manchester City team. In the sense that you watch them play and sometimes they're not in the game, or they're being dominated, or they're not playing their best, making sloppy decisions, sloppy mistakes. But you know at one point they're gonna get a goal. You know at one point they're gonna secure the win. A great example of this was the Leicester City game. They go down in the 6th minute to an Ayew goal, and then the rest of the half play really sloppy football. 73% possession, but they only forced 1 save from the keeper. In the second half though, Liverpool came out sharper. Better movement, more composure on the ball. They began to carve Leicester open. In the first half, Liverpool were spamming crosses. According to The Athletic, Liverpool had attempted 33 crosses, 19 more than any of their previous first halves. This made life really easy for Leicester because they could just park the bus, camp everyone in around the net, and just head away the clearances and hit on the counter. But in the second half, there was a clear change of strategy after Slot had the halftime to fine-tune his team's approach. In the second half, they only attempted 11 more crosses until the final whistle. It was just yet another example of Slot showing his ability to change games from the bench. This time, it was Slot's intelligence to tell his players to not get dragged into the trap of just spamming in crosses when it wasn't working. Now in the beginning, I said that the Slot revolution hasn't even started yet, and I said this because historically, Slot's teams actually really hit their stride in his second season. Take his time at Feyenoord for example. When he first joined the club, he did really well in the first season, getting him to the final of the Conference League and finishing third in the Eredivisie. In fact, he was awarded the Eredivisie Manager of the Year. But then in the next season, Feyenoord ended up winning the league and making it to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. A massive jump, especially considering that Feyenoord don't have the finances that PSV and Ajax had.
But to win it with this club, I think that is even more special because this club is not used to winning it that many times.
Keep in mind too, when he took over the Feyenoord job, he had to rebuild the team because Dick Advocaat had done such a poor job. At Liverpool though, Klopp left him with a very nice base to work with. People forget, but this exact same crop of players was at one point in the race to win a quadruple. They were in first place for a very long time in the Premier League. They reached the quarters in both the FA Cup and Europa League, and of course they won the Carabao Cup. It also helped that not only was the team good, but the players and the profiles of them fit exactly how Slot wanted to play, because his style is not very different from Jurgen Klopp's style.
That the differences are not that big, so there are only small differences between Jurgen and me, and the general idea of how we want to play football is, I think, quite similar.
Since Slot and Klopp's style of play is very similar, Slot didn't have to come in and make huge changes. He just had to make some small tweaks.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job over here, and I'm really happy with that as a fan. But now as his successor, I think his successor, we would say. He left, like I just said, Liverpool in the best possible way, I think.
It's why despite no signings in the summer that year, the team still played amazing. No team spent a longer period in a winning game state than Liverpool's 48% in the 2024-2025 season. Liverpool also didn't need any new signings because Slot ended up rejuvenating some players of the club to such a high level that they're essentially like new signings. Gravenberch went from being a player barely used to arguably the best midfielder in the entire league. If the Premier League had a Most Improved Player award, Gravenberch would be the outright winner. Gravenberch had shown some flashes under Klopp, especially in the Europa League, but an ankle injury slowed him down and he didn't really fit Klopp's system. Because you gotta keep in mind, Klopp was playing a 4-3-3 with one holding midfielder, and Gravenberch didn't really suit the role of the sole number 6. That's why Klopp used Endo there. Now Gravenberch probably would have been really good in one of the number 8 roles, but McAllister and Szoboszlai were already established, and Klopp, he didn't like to rotate that much. As a result, Gravenberch just couldn't break into the first team. But Slot saw his potential. Maybe it is the Dutch connection. After all, Slot had seen Gravenberch at his best in the Eredivisie, so he knew all of his strengths and weaknesses. But I think Gravenberch in general just fits Slot's style of play a lot better. Slot's controlled style of play benefits Gravenberch more because he's excellent on the ball. He can keep the ball well, and this gives him the freedom to dictate the tempo. Gravenberch has the ability to maintain possession and make the right pass out of pressure, which is vital to the way that Slot wants to play. That control that Slot is looking for cannot be achieved without a midfielder who is not just an exceptional passer, but has the footballing IQ to know when to carry the ball forward and when to keep the ball. Like, I've genuinely seen Gravenberch break an entire press all by himself because he's such an elite carrier of the ball. His style of play is rare. Someone that tall who's so technically gifted on the ball. It's the same style you saw from Paul Pogba, from Yaya Toure. It's such a joy to watch and so effective. Another Dutch player that was rejuvenated was Cody Gakpo. Another player that unfortunately just wasn't utilized to his best potential under Klopp. Klopp kept trying to use him as a pure number 9 and as a central midfielder. This guy is at his best as a left wing cutting inside. That's where he was playing his best football at PSV and for the Dutch national team. Playing on that left hand side with the freedom to either cut inside and cross or take a shot on his own. Well, Slot understood this and played him in that exact role. Look at Gakpo's goal against Leicester. That's what he can do, and he's done it all season. Now, it's not just because of a Dutch connection that these players have been rejuvenated. It's Slot's fantastic man management. Look at what he did with Curtis Jones. Now, Jones was actually a regular starter at times for Klopp, but I feel like his game has really elevated under Slot. He's scoring goals, doing them in big games. He's an absolute engine in the heart of the midfield, someone who works really hard but is also very technically gifted on the ball. Slot really understands how to get players to buy into his system. Look at how he's handled the contract situations with the media. Despite constant questions, he has always brushed it aside and never given them any quotes or clips that can be used to churn headlines. The other great example of Slot's fantastic man management is that players are constantly being rotated, but nobody has had their ego hurt. It's a testament to how good Slot is as a manager that he's been able to get the players to buy into the goal as a team instead of worrying about their individual numbers and stats. Considering what he did in his first season in charge, it shouldn't come as a surprise that he was backed financially so much. From practically no signings to multiple record-breaking signings. They're for real assembling the Avengers. Isak, Ekitike, Wirtz. This isn't normal for Liverpool. Under FSG, they've usually been very careful in the market, picking up 1 or 2 players each summer. Even when they splashed on Van Dijk and Alisson in 2018, that was the exception. But now with sporting director Richard Hughes leading the way, they're reshaping the squad in a huge way. Part of the reason is timing. For years, Liverpool spent far less than other top clubs, even less than the likes of West Ham and Wolves. Their title in the 2025 season was ahead of schedule, and now they're catching up with a big reset. Add to that the tragic death of Diogo Jota, Trent moving to Madrid to get better IG picks, and the departure of Diaz and Nunez, and suddenly Liverpool had no choice but to act. Slot himself had admitted that last season's attack wasn't always creative enough. With Wirtz and Ekitike and now Isak, that problem should be solved. But the new, more attacking style could also leave gaps at the back, something Crystal Palace already exposed in the Community Shield. So while Slot overachieved in year 1 by keeping things stable, year 2 might actually be a bit trickier. He now has his squad, full of talent, but also full of change, and it's on him to make it all click. Usually, champions play it safe after winning the league. Liverpool, though, are going the other way. They're betting big on a new era. It's very bold, it's very risky, but it could also be exactly what keeps them back on top. It's of course still way too early to say this, but Klopp and Slot seem to be following a similar path to Shankly and Paisley. Klopp, like Shankly, was considered the man, an intelligent, charismatic leader who took Liverpool from the bottom to the top, bringing them back to being one of the most elite clubs in world football. Shankly was a man of the people. Without him, Anfield doesn't have the same link to the fans and the players. Klopp was the same way. He embodied the you never walk alone mentality. Both laid the foundation. Now Paisley, he himself was an incredible manager, and he was able to use the foundation set by Shankly to win 20 trophies for Liverpool in just 9 years. Slot now has the opportunity to do the same thing, use a strong base foundation to propel Liverpool to even higher heights. Will he achieve it? Only time will tell. But with a captain like Van Dijk, I don't see why not. To see just how good the Dutchman is, you have to check out this video right here.